On today's episode, we will be giving you guys some new segments such as Packing the Pros. We'll be doing a question of the week, and we'll also be doing top 5 Dave Doeren era wins. So we got a lot going for this episode. We look forward to getting started. So let's go ahead and get it rolling. Hey, Wolfpack Nation. This is Leighton Smith coming to you, giving our second episode of Tuffy Talk. Here with my co-host, Macon Adams. Macon, hope you're doing well, my man.
I'm doing well, bud. Just ready to get this second show on the road.
Absolutely, absolutely. And if you guys haven't seen the first episode, I please ask for you to go back and check it out. And please like and subscribe to our channel. And if you haven't subscribed yet, you can actually subscribe by clicking the lower right-hand corner on our logo, and you can subscribe directly. So on today's episode, we'll be, just like I said, we'll be going over some new segments such as Packing the Pros. We'll be doing Question of the Week, and also mainly we'll be doing top 5 Dave Doeren era wins. So I know before that, obviously this week we had some events. One of the biggest ones being the NC State basketball game against Florida State, which obviously didn't go our way. Pretty much, I guess everything that we were hoping for didn't happen. It was bad from beginning to end, from everything that I could see. Making any immediate points from that game that stood out to you?
Yeah, I mean, we could break it down a lot more. I almost
Yeah,
feel like that's a little bit like you want to burn the tape on that game, Florida
yeah,
State. But um, I think we helped them out a lot. But I think Florida State was just really, really good that night, and I think they could have beaten most any team in the country that night. You hate it when it's against us,
yeah,
um, and there's probably a lot of questions people will have, regarding where's our basketball team right now as far as their mental state? Where do we see ourselves going forward? Are we just a 500 team? Are we better than that?
hmm
But I just, you know, that was a really hard game to watch.
yeah. Well, and unfortunately too, on top of that, I know that we've had some COVID issues in the team as well, which isn't helping us get back out on the court again. But you definitely hope and expect whenever the guys can come back healthy and safely, that we can finally start to figure out kind of what kind of a team we're going to be, since we are already somewhat of a way through the season. So we'll
Yeah, I
hope for
did
that.
see
But
I think something on Twitter that some of the news outlets were kind of putting out there, saying, Kevin Keach is trying to get the team back on the court ASAP,
yeah,
which would make, I mean, that's kind of obvious, but that's just what I saw this morning. They had said that there was like a tier one player or tier one member of the team that had tested positive, I think, and uh, that was back then. But I think it's somebody else on the staff to some degree. I can't remember who. I can't remember how it worked out. There's like something. There's a couple people involved on the team that had tested positive, but they've been testing the last 3 or 4 days every single day. Um,
yeah,
just trying to get back on the court. I'm hoping we
exactly.
can.
Yeah, absolutely. But luckily enough, Wolfpack Nation, we do have some good news. We did learn today actually that NC State baseball got ranked preseason number 13 in the country. So looks like Coach
Yeah.
Avens got a great team to make another big push here, hopefully towards an ACC title.
Yeah,
And
I think they're ranked
then,
like 13th. I think their consensus, I think I saw, or at least
mhm,
two of the
yeah,
major polls had them at 13, both at 13.
exactly. So which is great.
Yeah.
That means everybody knows that we got a team. So hopefully we can hopefully we can do something with it and win a title.
Yeah.
And then in other news as well, we also have women's tennis, who I know maybe a lot of state fans really haven't followed much at all, but we're actually right now number 8 in the country. And I
Yeah.
know this week
Wow.
we did like a tourney against UNC, and we did really well. And then also wrestling as well, who's number 3 in the country, beat Virginia pretty handily, and a lot of young guys really showed out for that game. So there's still a lot to really hang our hats on, and hopefully state fans, please feel free to follow them a little bit further and check them out. And there's a lot of
I
exciting stuff
think
to
men
watch.
and women's swimming also swept UNC.
Saw that as well. That's right.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you for pointing that out as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
So again, a lot of stuff there. So now well, now that we've kind of reviewed the week a little bit, we'll get into our first segment, which is the big segment. So, top five Dave Doeren era wins. Obviously, this is, I think, Doeren's eighth season. He came to us in 2013, and no, obviously, started off not with the greatest players, but really starting to build this program. So, we kind of want to take this opportunity and just kind of take a look back at some of the big uh, opportunities that Dave Doeren really cashed in on, and go from there. So this will be my list, and Macon, my co-host, hasn't really
And
actually hasn't heard this
we've
list.
not shared these lists,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
for those watching, I
yeah,
have no idea what his are. He has no idea what mine are.
yeah. We'll see how this goes. So Macon. So for me, number five on my list, the fifth
Okay.
biggest win Dave Doeren era, for me was the 2017 win over FSU. Now, some of the reason
Okay.
why I say this. So going into that game, Florida State just came off of a loss to Alabama where they lost 24-7. And that's an Alabama team that ended up winning the national championship that year. So not necessarily a blowout loss, obviously, which I mean, for most teams, if they don't get blown out by Alabama, they probably did something right.
Right.
So
They probably
I,
done really right.
yeah, yeah. Now they obviously did lose DeAndre Francois that game, and they played James Blackman. But they still were at the time number 12 in the country. It was at FSU, and so there was obviously a lot of expectation that FSU was going to bounce back and take care of us and kind of get back in that national conversation. But obviously, I think that game would have looked a little bit better, and it would have been higher on my list if they FSU ended the season a little bit better. They ended in the season 7-6, but we beat them 27-21, and also another big reason why I had that on my list is because that was our first win at FSU since 2005. So it's been a long time since we beat FSU at FSU, and so to win a game like that, even though it kind of proved out that FSU wasn't the best of teams, was still a big win for us at the time to really get our season off on a good start. So,
Right.
hmm
So you want
yeah,
to know what my number five is?
go for it.
So my number five, and you already saying what you said is already making my head spin a little bit because you'll see why later. But the for me, well, I'm gonna start with some honorable mention games. Put it that way. For me, at least, I had like about 7 games I thought were probably arguably up there. To me, um, I had an honorable mention. I had the 2014 state game at UNC when
Mm-hmm.
we had Brissett. I think it was one of Matt Day's first years, and we just whooped him. And
Hmm.
that would be an honorable mention game. I didn't really
Yeah.
see a ton of impact there. I think, although I think it was Dave Doran's first win against UNC,
Yes.
so that was a big win. But
And only a
that's
second
not.
season, but yeah.
Yeah, the only
Hmm.
second season. That was an honorable mention game. But
Hmm.
and I I'm going to go for me number five right now. I'm going to go with the this year's win against Pittsburgh. Actually,
Really?
um, yeah, and I say that because we were 1-1 going on the road against a 3-0 Pittsburgh team,
Hmm.
and um, we had just played Bailey Hawkman, obviously the first 2 games of the season, and he won against Wake Forest, but he looked terrible against Virginia Tech. In comes Devin Leary, first start of the season. He's trying to think. I just know state fans were already after the Virginia Tech game thinking, "Oh gosh, here we go again. It's another terrible season, like it was last year." And by the way, none of my top 5 wins are from the 2019 season or the 2013 season. So, but
Spoiler alert.
yeah, there's nothing really much to take from those years from a positive standpoint. But um, to me, that game, the Pittsburgh game, to me, in short, was I think it was a tone setter for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
I don't know if that game you lose that game, how you go through the rest of the season with a ton of confidence. I don't know. I don't know how that would would have looked like because hindsight's 2020. But I went back and kind of watched those highlights again. Again, Devin Leary's first game,
Hmm.
full game,
Hmm.
and he goes out there a game-winning drive. He kind of solidified. Look, I'm the guy between me and Bailey, and I think Pittsburgh had just scored a touchdown, like a minute and 40 some seconds left, and who drove the whole way down the field, scored through that pass to Emezi in the left corner of the end zone.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that shoulder fade kind of throw a hate. If Messi makes the catch, like 23 seconds left, 24 seconds left, and I think that was so much confidence for Messi because he
Mm-hmm.
played so well that game compared to how he done. Almost like I don't say it was a breakout game for him, but it felt like a Messi needed that. I felt like it felt like State needed that win this season, and they go into it all. I mean, you got to recognize Angeline had 2 touchdowns in that game.
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
Defense stepped up.
Well,
So
and that's why for me, and this might blow your mind, I actually have that as my number one win, my number one, because
okay,
of the fact. So literally, so not only because offense wise, I mean, we balled out. I mean, Leary had 336 passing yards. He had 4 touchdowns. Emeka had 101 yards receiving, 2 touchdowns, and as you said, Karen Angeline had 2 touchdowns and 60 yards receiving. So offense wise, we were clicking. Defense wise, we overall looked well as well. I mean, obviously, I think I know it was the first drive we had that
blown
just terribly
coverage.
blown
Yeah,
coverage and easy touchdown. Yeah, yeah. But overall, defense played well. I mean, they really gave us the chance to win. But
I
the
remember. I remember. I was doing something, running an errand for my wife somewhere, and I was getting home late. I was like, I know it was a noon game, and the I was just talking with my buddies. I said, "Hey, I'm curious. I'm nervous about this game. Not really sure what it's going to look like." And
Mhm.
then, I think as I always do, I feel like I always, not always, but most of the time, I feel like I'm always getting my hopes up right before game happens. Like, you know
Yep.
what? We might have a chance to win this game because I'm just a hopeless State fan a lot of times. And I go to put my phone away. I see like it's okay. It's noon. They just started the game. I go to, I think I went and ran to Lowe's real quick. I check my phone within 5 minutes. It's a touchdown. It was like,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
already happened that fast. And so
Yeah.
I was like, wow, that
Well,
sucks.
and so to really kind of explain why I have it as my number one win, kind of like what we were saying. I feel like that the biggest thing that this team has really did well this year was that when they went into the fourth quarter, if they were down or even go into the second half down, they came back and found a way to win, which is not something that state football teams are known for in previous eras. And so I actually looked, and actually on ESPN, there were 2 different times in the fourth quarter where ESPN said that there was a 75% chance or higher that Pitt was going to win the game. Which really just stood out to me again. I mean, and one of the biggest ones was after Pitt scored, and we had like a little less than 2 minutes left to go drive down the field and score and win the game. And I mean, yeah, I think that really just speaks to the maturity and kind of the growing of this team. That I mean, that they really, okay, we're in a tough position here, but we're going to step up and we're going to win this thing. And they won
Yeah.
it at
Yeah.
Pittsburgh against a really good Pittsburgh team. And so that's why for me it was number one. I mean, period,
Yeah.
straightforward. Big
Yeah.
growth for the team.
You're gonna find out why your number 5 pick was interesting to me here in a minute. But
Okay,
yeah,
where do you
that
where
was my number
where
5.
where do you have the FSU win? Just curious.
Oh, I'm not gonna tell you right now. You're gonna have to wait.
Okay, fair enough. So then for me, for number four, so I have the Liberty game this year, for 2020. The reason why this wasn't higher was simply because of the amount of penalties. We had 14 penalties that game, so it just wasn't the best disciplined game. I think that really hurt us. But I mean, offense wise, I mean, we had 100 and what was it? I think it was. I mean, so we actually limited Liberty to 279 yards total, which
Mhm.
I actually took a look back. So Liberty did not have below 350 yards of total offense at any game this entire season, except for us. We were the
Yep.
only game that we held them below 350 yards of total offense, which is
And by the way, the
um,
score of that game was, I think you don't even said it was 15-14 State.
yes, 15,
Okay.
14.
Yeah.
And so and also too on top of that, so their quarterback Malik Willis threw 6 total interceptions for the entire season, and 3 of them were against us. So again, I mean, defense just was
That was
amazing,
defense.
which
That was a defensive statement game for us.
it was a huge statement because I know that's been one of the biggest issues. I think that all state fans can agree over the years with Doeren is that just that defense has always been good, but it's never been great. in terms of on a
At least
consistent
not
basis. And
consistently. Yeah,
I
yeah.
think that was an amazing. I think overall we've played great, but that was an amazing performance by the defense that really won us that game. And so that for me is why it's so high. So
Okay, interesting. Yeah.
mhm, yeah,
Okay, that's cool.
no, yeah,
That was a
so,
big win. I know for us that was. I mean, when you look back on the season and you say, what was the state's team? What was the state team like? I
mhm.
mean, we were the only team to beat a historic Liberty team. I mean, it's Liberty, but again, it was a historic Liberty team, and it was
Watch that Coastal Bowl game, and yeah,
yeah, it was historic. I mean, I know it said you, but you could say it was a historic team. They were the one. I don't want to say a one-hit wonder, but it was. They were great. I remember watching that with some friends of mine who went to Liberty, and I think going into that game, I was feeling pretty good. And then the game went going on. I was like, I feel like I don't know. Are we going to get this one away? And then we have that block, and was it
yeah,
Levi Jones who made the block?
yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
was like,
Levi Jones.
oh my gosh, I can't believe he
Yeah,
just got that blocked. Because
I
the
know.
whole room went quiet because they were all getting kind of like, yeah, we're going to beat y'all and feeling really good. And then one guy in particular was talking smack to me beside me. I was trying to be quiet because I've seen it before, and he blocked it. And I just went, I didn't try. I was trying not to say anything, but I just said, I just kept quiet because I was like, I'm not going to be a jerk about it. But
Yep.
this
All right,
is,
number four. Who you got?
I don't know, sorry, rambling. Number
Yeah.
four, I have the let's see, what game was that? That would be the 2016 game at UNC.
Mm-hmm.
That would be the 1 year Carolina had Mitch Trubisky.
Yep.
That would be the first, well, I guess the second time State beat Carolina, but it was the first of that 3-win stretch that we had. We went 2016, 2017, 2018 against Carolina. I had some notes here. I said Carolina had just finished the previous season ranked about like 10th. They
Mm-hmm.
were 11th, they were 8th, and they were 10th, right? Those last 3 games or so. So to have that Carolina team recruiting, I'm kind of looking at this game from more of a recruiting standpoint. They had just done that. They had, I think, a pretty good class coming in, if I remember correctly.
Mm-hmm.
And for us to take that win, the score was, I think, it was 28-21, and I just think that was a big game I have here. That was the game where Jalen Samuels had that flea flicker to Steph Lewis.
Yep.
And that was another reason, I think, and probably all another big reason why I thought that game was a critical game for us was a win, was because that game put us at 6 wins. If we don't
Yep.
win that game, we're not going to a bowl game. And
Yeah.
then the next game the bowl game, I think we did win that next bowl game.
That
But
was that was Vanderbilt. So yeah,
yeah,
we
so
won. We
yeah,
beat Vanderbilt
so
handily.
we end up getting to another 7-win season, but we don't get that Carolina game. We're
We're,
five
we're
and
going
seven,
home.
I think, 5-7. So
Yep.
I thought it was really big, and I thought it was kind of interesting. It's like a little tidbit. Um, I look back at the game. Did you know Mac Brown actually called that game?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I thought it was kind of funny. Like now he's the head coach, but it was
Well,
you know,
and on top of that too, that's the one where AC Network or whoever it was recording it was having
technical
issues,
difficulties in
and
the
so
first
we missed
quarter.
like the whole first quarter.
I
Pretty much
forgot about
after
that.
the Steph Lewis flea flicker, it was like the AC was like, "Okay, we can't show this. State's beating Carolina. We can't show this anymore." That's what it seemed like.
Yeah.
So yeah. Mhm.
But yeah, that was a good game. They had Carolina had just come off top 10 win. They had just played in the championship game against Clemson. They did lose, but they had all this recruiting momentum.
Mhm.
And for us to beat them on the road in Carolina,
On
getting
senior
to bowl
day.
eligibility, yeah, on senior day, getting to bowl eligibility, which allowed us to get that 7th win in the bowl game against a Vanderbilt team. It's an SEC win. That was a really big game, I thought, for Dave Doeren.
Yeah. And I'll actually
What's
keep
your
mine
four?
quick for my number three because that was actually my number three. My
That was
number
your number
three one
three?
was the
Okay.
UNC
Yeah.
game. So yeah, I mean it just how important it was, and also too for also I would say for Doran as well how important it was for him. I know that it would have been a tough conversation the offseason if he would have gone 5-7 with that
Oh, I
team.
know. Yeah. That'd have been
So
hard.
so for
What
him
was
to
your
pull
number
that one
four?
off and then go and beat an SEC team at a bowl game was definitely a okay. We're back in the upswing here, so
Yeah.
big win.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
yeah, it was your number three. Okay. So you touched on the same thing. For my number three, so honestly, I kind of feel like I maybe should have put this one at number two. but I feel like I put the Notre Dame Hurricane game at number 3,
Mhm.
and the reason being is because the reason why I didn't put it higher, put it this way, was they weren't a ranked Notre Dame team, and though there was a Hurricane game. A lot of people felt we shouldn't play that game with Brad Kai. He's a throwing quarterback. I know a lot of people say, well, y'all won that game in a crazy environment. That basically really helped y'all because Notre Dame was not able to run the ball. And it basically was anybody's game. It totally leveled the playing field for so you really didn't get the best of Notre Dame. But I mean, I don't know, you really didn't get best of state, but I I know it's a big game, but at the end of the day, because it's still Notre Dame. You see those gold chrome hats coming, those helmets coming into the stadium in the middle of a hurricane. Anybody who can get a win over Notre Dame, that's a big win. I don't care who it is, because they're always a national name. They've got they're the one school that is not associated with any conference. I know we talked about this a lot the last episode as well, but I really just thought this was a big game for us, and you know,
Yeah,
it just was always a win against Notre Dame. What else do you need to say, kind of thing?
absolutely. Yeah, no, it
That was my
was it
number
was
three.
yeah, yeah, it was a big builder for the rest of the season to pull off a win like that, in a situation like that
Yeah.
on national TV for sure,
Yep.
big win. Um, so for me, number 2 is the win against Louisville, 2017. I mean, I
So
feel
we can
like
both agree that's my number two.
yeah, I feel like all state fans have to have this as number 2 or number 1. I mean, it's up there. I mean, it was such a big game. I remember I was so nervous for that game. I mean, it was such a crazy environment. I mean, I feel like
Yep.
it's one that state hasn't had a lot of in the past time where it was a night game against a Heisman Trophy winner. We
Yeah.
were in
Had he won it in 2016 or was it
yep. See, he won it the year
okay?
before.
He won
So
2016. That's right.
and we were in our black uniforms. It was a night game. We were ranked number 24. They were ranked
So
17.
hold on. As a side note, those black uniforms
Oh,
were pretty
yeah.
sweet. Those
Yeah.
I don't know, but I think that those were our best black uniforms we've had.
Yeah. Yep. And as a reminder as well for state fans who don't remember, so we won 39-25. And I mean, just I still remember to this day that big there's two really big plays for me during that game. First of all was when Chubb sacked because Louisville started off the ball and
Hmm.
Chubb sacked Lamar. I think it
Remember
was on
that
third
play?
down.
Yep.
And I remember just because it was in the student sections end when we sacked Lamar, and I remember just it was just so loud. It was that was crazy. And then obviously the big one at the end when Pratt intercepted Lamar and took it
When he
back. I
did
mean,
that, you're already up, and then you see that happen. You're like, that's game over. It felt like
I,
right then.
I would say that would be a clip that could live in all state fans' minds rent free. Let's be real. I mean that clip of Pratt taking it back.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean,
Yeah. I
one
know
of the
I was
best.
looking at something that said I think actually the university put out asking students, when did you know you loved state, or like something like that, something to that effect. A lot of them said this game. A
Yeah,
lot of them said that game against Louisville in 2017. They said when we during that game, a lot of them were like, I'm in the student section. We beat Louisville. I just as the environment was crazy. Thursday night game, like you said, it was just I think it was Thursday night game. It was just crazy
it was.
to get that win, and people, I think that for a lot of state fans and particularly students, that was a memory they'll always have. Kind of like for me when we beat Florida State back in 2012. It's kind of like that kind of game for a lot of students. So
Yeah. Well, and obviously it was important for Doran to really show up in a national setting against a Louisville team. I mean, I wouldn't say necessarily that I mean we felt like Lamar lost a step in the second year. Uh, but I mean, it was definitely a tough challenge, and
mhm.
to win at your home, at Carter Finley, at on national TV. I mean, just
Yep,
to raise up because obviously they went to that game talking Lamar, 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 Lamar. Well, after that game, they were talking NC State and Bradley Chubb. So
yep, chub, chub,
yeah,
chub.
it was a big highlight game. So I know for me, so you said Louisville you had as your second win. I said already that I had Pitt. The Pitt game this year is my number 1. So now
Now it's
I'm
kind of obvious where that FSU game fell for me.
yeah,
I thought
yeah.
that was number one. To me, to win, you haven't won there in 12 years.
Hmm.
And to me, that was up until that point, I felt like we had two teams we had to get past all the time. It's Clemson, which they still are, and Florida State. And Francois was looking pretty good. I think he had played the previous season. He looked pretty good the previous season, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And I'd forgotten they had played Alabama the previous week, but to
Mhm.
go on the road in Tallahassee, I think Jimbo's still the coach there.
He is. That was his
He's
last
still
year.
he's still the coach there.
Hmm.
He's I mean he's got great talent. He have Cam Akers then.
Yes, he
He
did.
had Cam Akers on that team. Um, just a bunch of dudes
Hmm.
on that Florida State team, and I know Chubb. I think Chubb went off that game, and that was a. I feel like that's a game where Chubb got onto the national scenes before. Trying to remember what that was. That was before the Louisville game.
That was before the
So
Louisville
2 weeks
game.
before the
Yes.
Louisville game, and we had only played like
Mhm.
Furman and Western Carolina, or I think it's Western Carolina or Furman, like some no, like not no offense, but like some teams that are like not big names
Yeah.
football wise, and teams that state should beat every time they play them. The very first conference game is on the road at Florida State against the number 12 team in the country,
Yeah.
and you beat them. That was the game where Jacoby Myers caught that pass, made that little move
Hmm.
on who was the DB then? It was I think it
Oh,
was
I know you're
can't
talking about.
remember his name,
Yeah. Yeah.
golly, but he made that move and he just ran end zone and he did the front flip. That was awesome. And honestly, I don't know if it's necessarily a good thing, but one of the things I
It's
remember, what you
it's
say?
Derwin James. That's who it was.
Derwin James. That's right.
Yep.
He put that
Hmm.
move on Derwin James, ran
Yep.
right up the middle to the end zone. It's like 60, 70 some yards, it felt like. And
Yep.
he landed the flip. I
Hmm.
also remember at the end of the game, that was the game where Chubb ran out to the Florida State logo and just spit on it. And
Yeah.
that's not really a good look. But man, that you really savored that one because it was like you just felt like you had taken down one of the giants in your division.
Yeah.
And ever since then, Jimbo's gone to Texas A&M.
Hmm.
They've had two coaching hires since then, and
Yeah.
you're not. Florida State's not the same Florida State. I'm not saying they are that way because we beat them, but
Hmm.
to get that win, put Chubb on the national stage, it gave State some recognition. I don't know. That was a big year. And that was
That was.
a big game for State. I mean, I don't know if Doeren could really hang his hat on too many other games like that. That because it's recruiting, you beat Florida State. I don't know. I feel like I could just go about that game.
Yeah. It was a big one. It was a big one. So just to
So
kind
it's
of
funny.
review.
Your
So
number five was my number one, and my number five was your number one.
number one, I know. Yeah. So just to kind of review that for you fans. So my number five was FSU. My number four was the Liberty 2020 win. My number three was the UNC 2016 win. Number two was the 2017 Louisville win, and my number one was the Pitt game this year. And making your top five,
Top
if you
five
find this.
was the number five was the this year's 2020's Pitt game. Number 24 beat number 24 Pitt on the road
Mhm.
with Devin Leary first game. Number four was the 2016 game at UNC against Mitch Trubisky. Carolina just come off the big season beforehand. That was number four. Number three was the Notre Dame game in
Mhm.
Carter Finley with Hurricane Matthew in 2016. Number two was the Louisville game in 2017
Mhm.
um, against Lamar Jackson with Pratt having the pick six. And number one for me was the Florida State game in 2017 against number 12 FSU on the road in Tallahassee.
Yep.
I will say one game I'm going to throw in there real quick is an honorable mention. I didn't say this one, but I feel like I should have. Was 2018 UNC win when the Gillespie game, I should say, when Reggie had like 5 wins, for 5 rushing touchdowns.
Mhm.
You get Myers with that back shoulder catch. If he didn't make
Yep.
that catch, we don't make that drive. We win in overtime. That was a big win for Doeren as well. But those five, the other five I
Yeah.
mentioned, were my
Yeah.
biggest ones. I thought.
Well, I think it's a good time too to switch into our next segment, which is packing the pros, because we've been talking a lot
Yeah,
about this guy already. Bradley Chubb, our packing the pros this week. We really wanted to pick him out, obviously, because we knew that we were going to be saying his name a lot this week or this episode, but also too in honor of him getting his first Pro Bowl. So we really wanted to go ahead and highlight him and all that he's done in his first 3 seasons now. So first of all, obviously breaking the scene back in 2018 when he broke Von Miller's rookie sack record with 12 and a half sacks. Really, I mean,
oh man,
just
that rookie year he was on
great start.
fire
Great start. And then going into 2019, he only played 4 games. He suffered a partially torn ACL, which
against
took him out for the
Jacksonville.
season. Uh,
Against Jacksonville.
yeah, was a terrible thing to happen. And then going into 2020, so he's played all 14 games, and he had 7.5 sacks, 42 solo tackles, and again got put into his first Pro Bowl. And really, the biggest thing, which I do want to say about him, is I think that especially for the Broncos, from looking at stats, it's proven about how not only about how good Chubb is, but also to how important Von Miller is to Chubb and how important Chubb is to Von Miller. Because
There's like a
actually that first
dichotomy going on
season,
with him.
yeah, I mean, so because I think it was actually half here. So Von Miller had 14 and a half sacks in 2018, and then Chubb had 12 and a half. So ton of sacks. But then Von Miller only had 8 sacks in 2019 when Chubb was out. And then when Von Miller was out in 2020, he's only had 7.5 sacks. So
Hmm.
again, it proves that just, I mean, how key both of those players are, and that without missing one, that they can just lock on the other. And so I mean, obviously, I mean, it's great to see Chubb really just step up and really be put on national level. And actually, this is actually State's first Pro Bowl player that's not a quarterback since Mario Williams, and because obviously we've had
Yeah, that's
Philip
big.
Rivers and
That's
Russell
really
Wilson.
big.
Yeah.
To me, and you talking about with Chubb and Miller playing together and how much they impact the other,
Yeah.
great players make other players better around them. And
Yeah.
um, I mean, I would say I think Chubb and Von Miller are really, they're great players.
Hmm.
Like you said, without the one, just one less problem to worry about. So they
Exactly.
can really focus. So opposing offenses can really focus on, Chubb's out or Miller's out. We can cut them up a little bit more, I guess, if you will. So,
Yeah.
but I would say for State fans, if you haven't seen the interview that Bradley Chubb had, um, it's a I think it's a pretty notable interview for Bradley Chubb when he was talking with the press over Skype or something like that about getting selected for the Pro Bowl. Uh, I haven't seen many athletes get that emotional.
Hmm.
He comes off of an ACL tear the previous year. Works his way back the whole offseason, and going into this 2020 year, he doesn't have the year he had in his rookie year because it was a very very good rookie year for him. But he had a solid year. Coming back off of that, it was just it's just something worth watching for a State fan to see how much getting selected meant to him, and you can tell how hard he had worked to get to that point. So if you haven't watched it, that's something worth going to watch. But yeah, really excited about Bradley Chubb's selection for the Pro Bowl.
Yeah.
Um, Dude, I don't know, just it means a lot for State fans.
Absolutely, and hopefully he enjoys it, playing the Pro Bowl, and definitely hope that he can give a big shout out to our fellow Wolfpacker Russell Wilson while he's there too. So, uh,
Yeah,
so perfect. So and then our last segment, question of the week. So this is actually one that actually Macon did not know ahead of time that I was going to be asking this, but it's actually one
he's
that I
keeping a
actually
secret
ask
from me.
you. Say that again.
So you're keeping a secret from me.
Yeah, I know. And but it's actually one Wolfpack Nation that I actually did ask your input on, and so I wanted to get Macon's input here on this as well. So I did tweet out asking, so if this was Philip Rivers' last season, do you feel that he is a Hall of Famer? So I'm interested in making your input on this.
Mine
If this is his last
is,
season,
I don't know the numbers off the top of my head. I'm going to say yes. I can understand people would say no because he didn't win a Super Bowl. Um, but I think he fourth or fifth in passing yards. I
hmm
think in NFL.
yeah,
Um,
I think he just passed. Yeah, he just passed for fifth or fourth. Yes.
yeah. So I would say yes. I don't have all the numbers there. I don't know all the numbers right off the top of my head, but
Yeah.
yeah, I would say he's got to be up there. I mean, to be even that passing yards, or is it passing touchdowns,
Mhm.
that he has. That's up. I mean, that's something that's worth being in there. I think. I don't. He's not a first ballot. He'll probably be a few ballots where he gets in, if
Yeah.
he gets in. But I think he deserves it. I think he's
Yeah.
earned it. I think he's always lived in the shadow of Ben Roethlisberger and Eli Manning having won Super Bowls
Hmm.
and being drafted. I think he was drafted the same year they were.
He was.
And he'll always have that note. He didn't win the Super Bowls,
Mhm.
but I do think he deserves to get in because of those records he has met
Yeah.
and the impact he had with the Chargers and now with the Colts.
Yeah.
Um, I think he should be in.
Yeah. I mean, for me, really, I think that a lot, because one thing too that people don't talk a lot about, which I think that you've heard a lot on ESPN when they do talk about the Hall of Fame voting, is character has been put a lot more, I feel like, into voting
The
recently than it has
consideration,
been in the past.
right?
And whether they like it or not, I mean, obviously, character wise, I mean, there's not a single person who doesn't love watching the mic'd ups of
Oh
Philip
my
Rivers.
gosh,
Dad
those
gummit,
are golden
like,
every time. Shoot, dadgummit. Yeah.
which is great. I mean,
I
love
mean,
him.
he is the epitome of a state person. He just a state fan. He gets it. He just is like, I don't know. Everybody who looks at Philip Rivers is proud of him.
Yeah. And so obviously I feel like that, I mean, he's in the category of like a Dan Marino, where Dan Marino didn't win any Super Bowls, but I mean, his stats were top notch. And I definitely think that Philip Rivers is in the exact same boat. So I would say, because somebody else who I would kind of compare him to is like a Tony Romo, who didn't win Super Bowl, but obviously played a lot of years, had
Yeah.
have some great stats. But I feel like, honestly, for me, Dan Marino's in, but I feel like if you're going to put Tony Romo in, you need to put Philip Rivers in as well.
Yeah.
That's my opinion, because I
That's
know a
that's
lot of
fair.
quarterback is looked at by the rings, but again, I mean, stats wise, character wise, he has everything except for the rings. So, I mean, I feel like that
I
he
mean,
deserves to
he's
be
been a
in, absolutely.
franchise player almost his whole career. I mean, pretty much his whole career. I mean, how
Yeah,
many players can ever say that too?
yeah. He finished where he pretty much finished where he started, for the most part. So absolutely. So definitely, hopefully we could
And what do
see
you mean by
another year.
that? Finished by where he started.
Well, just I mean, so I mean, he got. I mean, obviously there was that whole shindig with the Giants and the Chargers when he first got drafted. But I mean, he spent most of his career at the Chargers,
Yeah,
and so I mean, I think that's a huge testament to him, that he could have easily asked to go elsewhere where he had a
he
better chance
didn't.
to win a Super Bowl. But I
If I
mean, he was
remember
committed
correctly, if
enough
I
to the
remember
team.
correctly, was his Drew Brees was on that team with him, wasn't he?
Correct.
Yeah, and then I
And he
think
took
Drew
over.
Brees went to no, to the Saints.
Yeah, he went
But
to the same.
that
Yeah,
was kind of
yeah,
interesting thought. I never.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens with him this offseason. Hopefully we get another year, but if not, definitely best of luck to him coaching football, and hopefully he can get that
Hopefully he makes his way back
invitation
to
to
Card
Canton,
Finley.
Ohio. So absolutely. All right, Wolfpack Nation. So thank you so much again for tuning in. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and please like this video and comment below with any comments that you guys have to us, any feedback. We'd love to hear from y'all, and please make sure to subscribe to this channel as well. And please tune in next week. Got a big surprise for y'all next week. Looking forward to it. We'll
It's gonna be
talk a little bit
really
more
really
about it.
fun next week.
Yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about it later this week. But really excited about it. So please make sure to tune in, and we look forward to hearing from y'all soon. So other than that, just stay safe, Wolfpack Nation, and go always go Pack.